Hi, and welcome to the Nuclear Snell channel. In this episode, I will talk about what I think is the #1 mistake that prevents many art beginners from ever getting good at post-apocalyptic costuming or art in general. This has to do with how you use your perception when working on any given artwork. And if you have this mistake, you have to fix it before you start doing anything else, because otherwise your works will always look like ass. Alright, let's get started. I'll tell you all about it. Alright, so the mistake I'm talking about is thinking in symbols. Now what the hell does that mean, you're asking? So I'm gonna explain this in two parts. The first part is gonna be some theoretical stuff about how our brains work, about how perception works, and after that I will tell you in more concrete terms and in much more simple terms what you have to actually do to avoid this mistake and to get on the right track. So this is not gonna be biologically or psychologically correct, but this is just fine for explaining what I have to explain. So when we see stuff that is out there in the world, full and raw visual data, which is a lot of information, goes through our eyes to our brain central processing unit, which is something I just made up, which is the part of your brain that does stuff with information. Now, since your brain doesn't want to store so much data, what it does with it is using symbols. What is a symbol? A symbol is a proxy or a stand-in for something that is actually a lot bigger. And the way the brain achieves that is by omitting a lot of information. So words are actually symbols. All words are symbols, but not all symbols are words. Because a word is a relatively small amount of information that stands for something bigger. If I say the universe, that's not a lot of information, but the universe is huge. So this goes to our symbol storage, and usually people operate on this practical or symbol layer, because this compacted information or this proxy information that is represented by symbols or words is great for exchanging quickly. You don't communicate in full and raw visual data. Unless you're a really strange person, you are probably communicating with other people by talking to them or writing with them, instead of drawing a full, detailed, photorealistic picture of what you want to say every time you communicate with people. So this practical or symbol layer is a great way of communicating. This way of the brain of creating symbols instead of storing the full visual information allows us to exchange it quickly. So it's practical, it's needed. But the practical or symbol layer is not the layer, or not the only layer you want to be on when analyzing artworks. You need to be here. You need to be in this place, where the raw and full visual data hits your brain. So you have to take your brain CPU and have it analyze the raw and visual data. This is the layer where artists operate on, or where artists also operate on, because you have to use those two layers in a combination. Now, the problem that many art beginners, especially in post-apocalyptic costuming, do is remaining on this practical or symbol layer. And I recognized this after receiving like a 1000th message saying like, "Hey Dimitri, I have a jacket here and I have a belt. Do you think it is cool if I put that belt over my jacket's shoulder?" And not even a picture included. And that's when I realized that many people, maybe you, are not even aware of this layer existing. They're not aware that they need to also operate on this purely visual layer. So what does this practically mean? Let's get to the practical part. So here is an armor work in progress. I want to have a logo on it. So a logo is a symbol by definition. So this logo, or the symbol, is from the faction called Sons of Phoenix from Dustwind, which is the computer game I'm working on. It stands for something bigger, it is a symbol, but at the same time it has those raw visuals. And what are the raw visuals? It's its shape, which is kind of roundish. It's not a perfect circle, but it's more round than the triangle it sits on, for example. It is blue, it has a certain texture to it, and you can see its raw visuals at the same time. Now, other elements in this picture or on this costume are also symbols. For example, this bottle opener, it has the practical or symbol layer meaning of a bottle opener. I'm gonna replace it, by the way, because that practical or symbol meaning of this is too funny or cute for me. I want to have a tactical knife there because it has a different symbol meaning. It means more dangerous, more martial, okay? So this practical or symbol layer is very, very useful for telling stories with your outfit, and telling stories is super important. So if the story I'm telling here is I have a bottle opener, it's a different story than if I'm telling I have a knife here, okay? Maybe it's a tactical combat knife, then it's very dangerous. Maybe it's a multi-tool kind of knife, which means I'm a kind of a handicrafty man. So this practical layer, it is not useless. Don't get me wrong, you must use this in order to tell good stories. But while it having its practical meaning, it also has its raw visuals, which is again something that many beginners don't see or don't care about or are not aware of even existing. So it has this orange stripe right here, it has this rounded shape here and here, it has its colors, its texture, its metal with some black paint on it, as you can see. And you see that I'm trying to do as good of a job describing it with words, but my words alone would not be sufficient to describe its pure raw visuals to you. So just saying bottle opener that is metallic and black and has kind of rounded shapes, you still don't know how exactly it looks. You can't really grab it as an artist with your brain. Okay, so there are multiple other things, multiple lenses through which you can analyze your artwork while looking at it and analyzing its raw visuals. And this stuff right here, it's basically applied design theory. The thing that makes my works good. It is not road-killing jackets very aggressively that makes my works good. It's me being able to control this stuff. And for those of you who didn't know, I've studied photography. I never studied costume design, but all this stuff operates on the same principles. Concept art, photography, websites, any sort of applied art operates on the applied design theory. Okay, so what I wrote down for you are design analysis lenses. The term lenses, I borrowed this from Jesse Schell, the author of a very good book about game design called The Art of Game Design, and he uses those lenses of game design for analyzing games that you make. So that book helped me a lot when creating Dustwind and still helps me a lot when working on it. So I've borrowed this term because I think it's very, very good, because you literally look at your artwork through those lenses and you analyze it. So these lenses I wrote down for you here are the basic ones that will help you with any sort of character art or art in general, but mostly with costumes. Okay, so number one, proportions, which include sizes and distances, etc. For example, how big is my chest plate compared to my belly plate? How big is this 127 red rectangle here compared to this one? They're the same size, but these two are bigger than those two smaller ones, and so on and so forth. I have a video about detail areas and rest areas on my channel. That's one of the many subtopics of proportion. Okay, so proportion and composition. So proportions, sizes, distances, etc. And one more important thing, to any of those, I cannot possibly tell you what kind of combinations can be made or what to do and what not to do. This is something you can learn only over a very long period of time. I'm sorry, but I can't explain it to you in one video or even 10 videos. I will be again and again making some videos that cover some topics and subtopics from this. But you have to exercise yourself and you have to observe your artworks to analyze them like an artist. While I cannot give you all the answers, I can direct you towards asking the right questions, and that's what you need to know. That number one mistake of art beginners I was talking about is not asking the right questions about your artwork, or in fact not asking any questions at all, going just with the practical meaning, which is, by the way, as you can see, one of the lenses. I'll get to that again in a sec. So, proportions, sizes, distances, etc. How long is this belt? How big is this buckle compared to the other stuff on my artwork? Does its size make it important or unimportant? Another important part that I didn't write down here for whatever godforsaken reason, and I will do that now, is composition. Because obviously this triangle in the middle of the chest, is it in the middle of the chest or is it somewhere else? Ask yourself this question: how does my artwork look when it's in the middle? Looks symmetric. If I shift it around, it will look asymmetric, right? So that's one of the biggest things to watch out for: proportions and composition. Shape language. Now these are kind of a bit rounded but still aggressive shapes, right? And if we add this logo right here, its shape language is a different one than that of the plate it is on. So the plate is triangular and the logo is kind of round-ish in its global shape. So it stands out. It's a different effect as if the logo was also angular, okay? So shape language. Termination, or how things terminate or end. So let's get right back to that example actually. You can see that there is a very hard edge, a very hard termination, and a very unchaotic, very orderly termination of this metal plate that I have on the chest here. There is also a rather hard and defined termination here, from this plate to the belly. But you see that on the sleeve right here or here, the termination of this jacket, or how the jacket ends, is chaotic and it is rather soft. You see that? I mean, you can see that. I don't have to explain it in such a detail, which is great because when I show you something, you can see it. Isn't it great? You see the raw visual data. Okay, so termination. How does something end? And what I like to do is making an interplay of termination. So we can see that this jacket terminates chaotically and very soft here, and this edge right here from this rubber shoulder pad to the jacket is again hard. So interchanging the way things terminate creates an interesting play, okay? And the overall impression of this is more chaotic. I look more like a chaotic wastelandish person, while here I look like, I don't know, a soldier, a policeman, something like that, because there is no chaotic termination going on almost anywhere in this example. Okay, so termination is very, very important. Next, anatomy. Here is a good example. So I think everyone knows that wide shoulders and a V shape to the chest or to the torso is a mark of a strong, manly man. So I wanted to show how much I'm a strong, manly man, and this is why I've positioned those belts right here in a slight V shape on my chest. They don't go straight down. You see, they go in a V shape, same as the chest plates. And to emphasize that effect, I've added large red contrasts on top here on the shoulders and a smaller echoes down here, so they echo those contrasts. So this creates additional lines. Your brain connects those big lines with those small ones, so it's a V shape inside of a V shape. Absception, except it's not abs, it's chest, so it's chestception. That emphasizes a lot how much I'm a very strong big man. Okay, so the anatomy is an important topic. So ask yourself, how does this outfit make me look? And go in the direction that you want to go in. Do you want to look massive? Do you want to look slim? Do you want to emphasize certain parts of your body? This is something you need to be aware of. And then you have to ask yourself, how do I emphasize parts of those of my body? Obviously, the number one thing to do would be add some thicker padding, put more stuff on it, but also color works, and that's the next topic. Color, for example, color contrasts. Here we have a three-way complementary contrast. You see this army fabric color, this green, contrasts to the blue of the jacket, and both of those contrast to the red highlights. And they are highlights because they are contrasting to everything else. They're small and they're intense, which is color saturation. That color is more saturated than, for example, this green right here. The saturation is this. I can literally demonstrate to you what saturation does by using the saturation slider in Photoshop. So this is desaturated and this is oversaturated.
okay? So saturation of colors is also very important. So if something in your work is supposed to pop, such as these red contrasts, and it doesn't, maybe it doesn't have enough saturation, or if you look like a clown on Carnival Day, then maybe all of your artwork has too much saturation. And in post-apocalyptic costumes, the grunging of the whole thing, like dirtying it up, is usually going to reduce the saturation of everything. And that's one of the reasons why applying grunge has such a great effect, okay? So, texture and material. You can see here that there are many textures, many different ones. So we have this fabric right here, then a different fabric here on that padding of the armor. Then we have the metal of the armor. Then we have the webbing right here. Then we have metal again here and some plastic or duct tape stuff here. There can be a very interesting artwork which is made just out of one material and is still interesting because it dominates in many of those other things. It can be a brilliant composition with the use of a single material and a single color, and it can look amazing if you know what you're doing. Okay, but in this particular case, what I've decided to do is to create an interplay of materials and colors. As you see, they're exchanging. Number next, practical meaning. Thinking practical and using practical meaning of items to tell stories is something you need to do, but please do not reduce your entire creation process, your entire artistic analysis of your artwork just to this, because it's just one of the many things, and there are many more. Okay, there is so much more to learn about this, and again, I'm sorry I cannot teach all of this in a single video or even in 10 videos. I will be making more videos to cover more of those points again and again. But the good thing about this is the applied design theory is universal. Again, I studied photography. I never studied costume design, but I can apply those principles just fine to costume design. You can learn from anyone, from any source that deals with applied art. Go watch Feng Zhu videos. Feng Zhu is a great concept artist master. So watch any sort of artistic videos. If you know how to create pictures, if you know how to compose pictures, you will know how to compose a costume. That's what I did. Or the other way around. You just have to understand the underlying questions that you have to ask. You just have to learn how to perceive. And I hope that I have made it clear enough for you and that it helps you in creating better artworks.
Alright, thanks for watching. I hope you liked this video. And if it was helpful, then like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends. And check out the first link in the video description. That link leads to my Patreon campaign, and it's only thanks to my Patreon supporters that I'm capable of producing more of these videos for you. Also, the second link in the video description leads to the nucleus nail patches. You can now buy PVC patches with Velcro. So, yep, see you in the next episode.